In this video, we're going to talk about why the avoidant actually usually struggles more than the anxious one does after a breakup, and why the anxious one usually wins the breakup. And it might seem like, but the avoidant seems like they really don't care. And I'm over here crying, sad, missing them. And they don't seem to be bothered. So it doesn't feel like this is true, but I'm going to explain to you why it is. So before I get into this video, if you would like any support, I've got some one-to-one options to help you process a breakup, to make sense of it, which I think is so important after one of these big life events where something massive changes in a relationship situation. We've got such a huge amount of emotions, and one of the best ways to process and move forward is to talk it through, to understand your blind spots, to see the beliefs that are operating, and to really make sense of it. So if you would like any of that one-to-one support, either with a breakup or with, a relationship that you're in right now, you want to understand it, you want to know how to approach a situation and what you can do, then I'd love to be able to help you. I've got one-to-one options. So I've got packages or a single session. If you buy one of my packages at the moment, you get an extra session for free. So there's 2 of those spots left. And if you would like one of those, just send me an email or a direct message and we will organise that. So, right, why does the avoidant struggle more? And any people who have identified as avoidant or not identified as it because they don't do that kind of thing, they might think, well, this isn't true because they just kind of get on with their life. They don't seem that affected by it. But the reason why the anxious actually usually wins is because they process it. They process the grief. They let themselves feel everything. And the avoidant doesn't do that. They just jump to the next thing and they distract themselves and they bury their feelings and they don't learn anything because they're unwilling to look at life that way. And they're unwilling to take accountability a lot of the time. But the anxious is more likely to reflect, to process, to talk it through. And so they actually release a lot of the feelings that have come up in the relationship. They release a lot of the narrative, the stories, the grief. And the key thing is this: when someone who is anxious is in a relationship, they're often actually feeling really unhealthy and not themselves, and they're giving away all of that energy, all of their time. They're trying to love so much, and when that goes away, because they can't do that because that person is not there anymore, they actually start to reclaim their energy and their time, and that makes them feel better and healthier. And the avoidant doesn't go through this same process because they haven't been as emotionally invested as the anxious one. So the anxious one usually has a massive glow up, and they eventually find time to do their passions, their interests, to spend time with friends, and they start feeling so much better that they are in a completely different energy than the avoidant, who is just doing the same thing and doing the same thing and being half happy. Not really quite there. And, they often still carrying this shame and this guilt and this, I don't know why things happen like this for me. And that's because they're not willing to do the inner work that often anxious people so desperately want to do, because they want to heal, they want to understand themselves, they want to release whatever it is that has ended up with them being in this situation again. And so this is why there's a really key difference with how the avoidant and the anxious process a breakup. And then what happens very often is that months down the line, and it can be years, okay? I know some people say, well, it's been a year, they're definitely not coming back. Or it's been 5 years, they're definitely not coming back. Honestly, sometimes 10 years, 20 years down the line, which is, not very useful to you if you're waiting for someone to come back. I don't suggest waiting at all, because the timeline of how long it takes someone to come back can be a few weeks or a few months or years, and you don't know. So all you can do is focus on you and assume that they're gone, right? This is going to actually benefit you, that rather than kind of clinging on and hoping and watching all the videos about when they're going to come back, because no one knows, no one can tell you. But the truth is, what I've seen over and over and over and over again is that at some point when that space has really kicked in and they're with themselves and they've met themselves again and again and again, they reflect then because they're safe, because, you know, there's no investment necessary at that point. And they go, oh my God, why did I treat that person like that? And I went to an event once in London, and it was amazing. And it was a personal development event. And there were so many men and women breaking down, and they were really saying, oh my God, I can't believe how I've been showing up in my relationships all these years. And they released in front of all these people all of these stories and all this shame, and they reconnected with a lot of people just to say, I want to acknowledge what happened in our relationship. And it was like, wow, just watching all these people, men and women, all different age groups, all different types of people, were there releasing a lot of the stories because they brought themselves to that event because they were ready then, because they'd experienced enough of their shit, right? And I think this is the thing with avoidance, is that, and again, it's not to villainize them, it's not to make them bad, it's just the way that they have learnt to cope is to shut down, to distract, to be busy, to try to get their next quick fix, which inevitably never makes them fully happy. Whereas I think other attachment styles are more likely to self-reflect, that if you're secure or if you're anxious, you're more likely to do that inner work, which, like I say, you know, you might have experienced this when you've been giving in a relationship and then it ends. It's horrible at the beginning, it's awful, and then you start getting your energy back, then you start being happy again, then you start thinking, oh my God, I'm happier than I was when I was with this person, I'm happier than when we were together, what's that about? And you start thinking, maybe I don't need this person then. And that's when the flip switches. Is that the right phrase? Yeah, that's when the switch flips. I don't know. And it changes because you're feeling so much better that you think, why would I go back to that? Why would I put myself in that situation? And that's when the avoidant often feels safe enough, even energetically, they know this has happened, to approach you again and be like, okay, I don't understand, because you don't need them so much then, right? And so the anxious wins the breakup. So I would say, if you're in a breakup situation now and you've been the one trying to fix it, trying to work it out, trying to have another conversation, and you're feeling depleted and stressed and sad, I mean, that makes sense because you have been giving, and the avoidant hasn't been doing that, and it's exhausting. But trust me, once you stop doing that so much, your energy is going to come back. You're going to feel healthier, happier, stronger, more sure of yourself, and you will feel so much better than you did before. And I've heard people say this so many times. I feel the happiest I've ever been about a year or a year and a half after a breakup like that. And you know, it can take longer, but that processing time is however long it takes. And then, you know, you win because you've released it. So yeah, like I say, the avoidant takes longer to do this because their coping mechanism, their survival strategy is to avoid, ignore, shut down, distract. And that's not helpful to their long-term happiness or fulfillment in any relationship or even in life, because often it's not just relationships they're kind of monkey branching to. It's like another job or another country or another pay rise or whatever it is that they're trying to think their happiness is over there, and it isn't. And we have to learn that through life's experience. So I hope you found this video useful. If you'd like any more help, support, like I say, you can find my one-to-one options in the link below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.